Ding dong, it's trick-or-treat bag time.
Give me your treats, or else.
Matt, probably about a month ago, I saw a trailer for an upcoming movie called Monster Mash, and it looked really cool to me, and we both checked it out, and we said, let's check this movie out. What are your thoughts on this before I tell you my thoughts?
I would drag this thing back to hell.
I didn't see the movie, so I want to start off by that because you told me not to see the movie until we did this episode. And I said, fine, I will not watch the movie. I'll just watch the trailer. I really was not impressed, I'll be honest. Would I buy this movie right off the bat? Would I rent it? Would I go see it at the movies? I probably would not. How can I put it? The trailer seemed like a first-time editor put it together. It wasn't like quick enough. It didn't sell me. And I guess I was comparing it to the Monster Squad, where I was like, all right, maybe they'll give it a little bit more. And then I started reading the reviews, and that's where it was just like, I don't know about this one. I'm really intrigued to hear what you have to say since you saw this. If you could sell me on it, and then I would be like, all right, maybe I have to see this.
Sell you on the trick-or-treat bag item for this evening. So, Monster Mash.
I'm Dr. Victor Frankenstein, and he belonged to me now.
2024 just came out last month in March. The log line for this on IMDb is Dracula, the Werewolf, the Mummy, and the Invisible Man must work together to stop Dr. Frankenstein from creating an unstoppable monster. I do want to say off the bat that this movie is an extremely low budget. This was made by the Asylum. Now, for those who don't know the Asylum, an American film production and distribution company based in Burbank, California. The company is known for producing low-budget, direct-to-video film, in particular mockbusters, which capitalize on the popularity of major studio films with similar titles and premises. So a friend of mine has actually directed a couple movies for the Asylum. He did Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus, which I really liked. And so this company, they do...
Oh, really?
Look, these movies don't take themselves too seriously, and they're super fun. Like the Sharknado movies that they did.
So far, you're not selling it right now. You're saying Sharknado, and then most of the other Asylum movies, from what I've looked up, had at least 5 stars out of the 10.
I mean, they're made for like the Sci-Fi Channel. They're like Two-headed shark attack, Abraham Lincoln versus zombies. Like, come on, you're not digging that?
Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter was amazing. I don't care what anybody says. I love that movie.
That wasn't Asylum, though.
It wasn't, but since you said Abraham Lincoln, zombies, vampires, it's all the same to me.
And that's kind of what they do. They take these big movies and then they just do theirs. For example, like most of their films have a budget of $250,000 to $500,000. When I was doing Hallmark movies, those were like $2 million movies. And
Dude, you shouldn't say that.
Yeah. So if you think of that, $2 million for those Hallmark movies, they're making these for a fraction, and they're pumping these out as much as they can.
Don't get me wrong. I could understand that, but also I think if it's a really cool story and you hook people in, I don't think you need millions of dollar budget. I understand the Blair Witch, a bigger budget than this, but still with very little, they made it like spooky, scary.
Right.
Which kind of kicked off a whole new wave. And I feel like if you could do that with this, don't get me wrong, looking at the Invisible Man, I thought looked really cool.
See, and I actually liked the way Dracula looked.
It just looked like a pale, skinny dude.
Ah, really? I thought
just from the trailer. Granted, I didn't see the movie, so I don't have any other reference besides the trailer.
First off, I'm always excited when I see like a monster mashup movie because I loved Abbott and Costello meets Frankenstein. That's from 1948, so it's going way back.
Yeah, we know you, old timer.
I loved the 1987 movie, The Monster Squad.
But who do you call when you have monsters?
We're the Monster Squad.
Van Helsing from 2004, I really wanted to like, and I'll still watch it, still in hopes that I'll find something that I didn't see before, because I really want to like these Monster Mash movies. I was like, okay, this looks really cool, and I like the look of it. And Michael Madsen's in it, so even though it's from Asylum, which I like their movies, and I don't go into it thinking I'm going to get some huge studio film. I go into it thinking I'm going to get just an entertaining movie that doesn't take itself too seriously, and that was this movie. But I will say, as I'm watching the opening credits, so this movie right now, you can rent or buy it on Apple.
Is that the only place you can get it?
It was really the only place. You can't even find it on Amazon Prime. I can't remember if there may be a couple like streaming services. I forget.
Invisible man. I just need a piece of his skin.
I'm watching the opening credits. Michael Madsen's in it, and it's like, okay, cool. Like, that's a serious actor.
We got a big name.
And I like Michael Madsen a lot. So say what you want about him. I think he's a really good actor. Of course, you know him from Reservoir Dogs and Tarantino's movies. But
You're not selling it. You're not selling it.
So then I see that the composer is Harry Manfredini, who did the original Friday the 13th movies. And I'm like, oh, dude, they got Harry Manfredini to do the score? That's pretty big too, is, you know. So Asylum was bringing in some big names for this. Plus they're like going after Universal, you know, because Universal hasn't been able to really do anything new with the classic monsters. And it's a really cool story. And I like how they slowly kind of unravel the plot. So it's a mystery. You're kind of wondering what's going on. And I actually really like the Dracula. And normally I'm like a Bela Lugosi guy, and it took me a while to come around to Christopher Lee. The guy who played the Dracula in Van Helsing, I did not like at all. I hated him. Gary Oldman, I could dig, but this guy I really liked a lot. And I feel like Universal should get this guy.
What? Really?
I would drag this thing back to hell.
Yeah, I really, really dug him and how he played the character. And I don't know, people may look at this and say, you're an idiot. I don't know, maybe not. Maybe they actually dig him too. Here was my problem with the movie. And actually, let me back up a little bit. I even felt like the sets and everything were really cool. Like, it didn't feel like you were watching a super low budget movie. Of course, it's not a studio movie. It is not. And I wasn't expecting that. But I was pretty impressed with what they did. My problem with the movie was actually the score by the Harry Manfredini.
Really?
Yeah, it just felt like it kept the same brooding mood through the entire film. And even when there were moments where it was like death was coming, it just kept that slow, dismal mood. Even in the action scenes where it's supposed to be this big action, and it just felt like the score did not match the visuals.
See, that's the way the trailer felt to me too. It was like, all right, it's
Like, it just didn't do anything.
again, I don't think you're selling this movie at all. Anybody listening that didn't see this was probably going to be like, all right, maybe I'll pass on this.
I'm not going to skip it.
Now, was this movie like gory? Is it more like
It's not gory. It's a monster movie. It's a monster movie.
and they're just walking around messing stuff up? Is there any kind of humor in this? Is there dark humor, silly humor?
No.
So it's
no, there's no. It's a monster movie.
It's just Frankenstein. Blah.
It's a monster movie, and what it offers is it offers all the monsters. There's some humor sprinkled throughout, but I wouldn't call it like an American Werewolf of London type of thing or Return of the Living Dead. There's not humor like that, but there's sprinkles of it. It even kind of pokes fun at itself at times. What I will say about it is a monster movie, which I love. You're kind of wondering, how is all this coming together? There, like I said, there's mystery in it, and you're wondering, like, what are we building toward? You know, what is Dr. Frankenstein going after? What's going on with Dr. Frankenstein? And you will find out. Will I buy this movie? Probably not. Would I watch it again? I might, but I will say that the score really did kind of turn me off, and I feel like if you put another score under this, I feel like it actually could be a pretty cool movie.
Aesthetically, Frankenstein and the Mummy. What were your thoughts on that? Because you like the classic looks of these monsters, and you go all the way back to the 40s with Abbott Costello. And what were your thoughts on, besides Dracula, which we heard, but the other monsters in this?
So I actually really dug all the monsters. The Invisible Man probably added a little bit more humor than I would have liked, but it didn't bother me. He seemed like he was in a different movie universe than the other monsters. I was fine with it. It didn't ruin it for me, but I actually really liked the look of all the monsters. I might even say that in the Monster Squad, I didn't love that Dracula. And again, so like this one I feel is a really good Dracula. It was a cool Wolfman. He's not always the Wolfman. He changes back into, it's like unlike the Monster Squad where he's pretty much always a Wolfman.
I do like how you're comparing it to the Monster Squad though a lot. There's tons of movies, and this the only thing I don't really like about this movie right off the bat too, where it didn't really sell me. I told you on the trailer, but the name of it, it's like, all right, when I first hear the Monster Mash, it goes back to the song for me. Not only that, there's been tons of movies that were called The Monster Mash or Monster Mash. There's been cartoons. I think a lot of people do associate the Monster Mash with the song itself.
This, of course. And I'm sure that was a marketing thing.
I hate that.
Like, hey, we're going to get people because it's called Monster Mash.
I get it. It's monsters. You're mashing them together. You know, you're trying to create this evil villain monster of all the monsters. I get it. But at the same time, I don't know. I just think they regurgitate the same stuff over and over again. And it's just, it gets like stale. It's like, all right, it's been done. I grew up on the Monster Squad. I mean, I love Frankenstein in that movie. I love the Mummy in that movie. The Mummy in this movie doesn't look appealing to me. Frankenstein looks like a short dude from what I saw in the trailer. It's like,
And also, I mean, the makeup isn't great on Frankenstein, but again, it didn't bother me. You know what? A lot of times with Monster Mash movies, it's kind of tough to gather, like, how are you going to get all these monsters together? And I feel like I was totally on board with how they did it here, how they all came together. To me, as I dug this treat out of the trick-or-treat bag, it wasn't an apple. Maybe it was wax lips, where you take a bite and it's kind of good because that little juice stuff comes out, but when you're chewing on it for a while, it's candle wax.
I mean, when I was telling you to sell me on this, I don't think you sold me on it. You kind of gave like some points and then it just went downhill.
And I don't know if I'm even trying to sell you on it. If it had a better score, I feel like this would be a much better movie. So much of the movie just felt like it was droning on, and I feel like it would not have had that effect if the music did a little more with it. And I will say this, there's one part of the movie where a disclaimer comes up, like right before the climax of the film, and I felt like, okay, this is what we're doing. Now this movie's going to kick into gear. And unfortunately, the visuals did and what was happening story-wise, what kind of was, but the music was holding it down.
Yeah, I'm looking in my trick-or-treat bag right now, and the more you explain this...
You're about ready to pitch this thing, or at least try and trade it with Greg.
Yeah, I think I got a rock. So,
all right. Well, let us know, got anyone else out there who has seen this or saw the trailer, what you guys think. Maybe you have a difference of opinion. Maybe you really like it and you want this treat. Maybe you thought it was even worse than I'm making it out to be.
Until we see each other in the pumpkin patch. Stay spooky.
Stay spooky.